Hey guys, what's going on? It is Rick, and I'm here finally with my hot trash of 2019 video. So as you guys know, I do a best and worst of video every year, and this year it wasn't as bad as years past, but it was still pretty bad. I have a printout here with my list. I don't believe I own any of the movies on this list, I think, but we're going to dive right in. Dishonorable mentions first. Countdown, which is the horror movie about the app that counts down and lets you know when you're going to die. Not very good. A PG-13 horror movie that, in my opinion, should never have been made. What Men Want, the What Women Want remake with Taraji P. Henson. It was absolutely brutal to sit through. It was not very entertaining. Black and Blue, a movie about corrupt cops and racism in a police force, basically, and it was very heavy-handed. It was not very good, in my opinion. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which should have been much scarier, in my opinion. It felt like a Goosebumps movie, but a slightly bit darker. I thought the actors weren't very good. I thought some of the effects were okay, but not a movie that I would ever rewatch again or own physically. And then The Beach Bum, which is hilarious because some people apparently have this on their best of the year list. I really feel like there's this thing going on in movies right now where because a certain director does a movie, it's absolutely, it's one of a kind. They're so creative, and Harmony Korine's movies, in my opinion, haven't been anything special. Spring Breakers was another movie everybody thought was fantastic, and I thought was okay at best. And The Beach Bum was another movie where it just felt like, why was this made? Why? Question mark. And I just personally wasn't a fan. So for the top 10, bottom 10 list, I'm doing 10 this year. It varies in years past, but it all is based on rankings. So all those movies I gave 1.5 to, and the first couple movies on my bottom 10 list are 1.5. Then there are some ones, and then some half-star movies. So the number 10 spot goes to the movie Little, which has Regina Hall as basically a businesswoman who is very just ignorant, snotty. She's very self-centered and selfish, and she basically gets put into her body as a 12-year-old girl, and her assistant has to take over her position. It is awful. It was not funny. I did not go to the movies to see that. I believe I watched it on Blu-ray, and it wasn't good. It was tough to sit through. Number 9 is the Pet Sematary remake, which, come to think of it, I actually own because I bought the double pack on Brown Thursday. But I'll be keeping the second one sealed and selling it, and depending on if I like the first one, I might keep it. So, Pet Sematary remake, not very good, not very creepy. Of course, I haven't seen the original, but everybody I know that I've talked to said that the remake is absolutely brutal and horrible compared to the original. So hopefully I like the original better, and maybe it'll make the shelf. But the Pet Sematary remake was pretty awful. So those both got 1.5 stars. Now at number 8, these movies got 1 star, the next 3 movies. Number 8 is Murder Mystery, starring Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston. Once again, Adam Sandler doing these Netflix movies, basically collecting a paycheck so him and his friends can go on vacation. I've ranted about it before. Recently, it has come out that Netflix signed him on to do 4 more movies. So we'll have plenty more awful Adam Sandler movies. Hopefully I am smart and I stop watching them. I know one of those movies is supposed to be Murder Mystery 2. Really? Like, not necessary. Number 7, The Intruder. Basically, I feel like every year, and when I initially reviewed this movie, which I saw in theaters, I think that every year there's this movie that comes out. Acrimony was, I think, one of my worst of the year in 2018. When the Bow Breaks. I feel like every year there's one of these awful PG-13 movies that wants to be risque and R. I will say the highlight of this movie was Dennis Quaid was very great as a creepy guy. But the movie just was laughable. I remember my theater experience was awful. There were people talking throughout, but I also remember people laughing at how ridiculous what was going on the screen was. And that is why it is number 6 on my Hot Trash of the Year list. No, number 7. Sorry. Yeah. Number 6 is Captive State. A movie that I was actually really excited about watching. It had vibes of like a Cloverfield. Looked like Contagion, Cloverfield. It was this weird, people had gas masks on and there was aliens. What you got was a very boring movie about two brothers who are, their family was taken from them at the very beginning of the movie and they were being protected, but they were also not being protected. It was a mess. It was a movie that I thought was going to be like a sci-fi action thing, and it was a drama where nothing happened for an hour and 45 minutes. John Goodman and Vera Farmiga are both the stars, even though Vera Farmiga, spoiler alert, is in the movie for about 4 minutes. John Goodman's in it for maybe 15 minutes. It was brutal. It was not good. It was boring. Luckily, I got it from the library and watched it, so I did not pay anything to watch it. I give it a 1 star. It is my 6th worst movie of the year. And now the bottom 5, guys. Each of these movies, I gave a half star to in 2019. One of which people are probably going to disagree with to an extent, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. Number 5 is The Hustle, starring Anne Hathaway and Rebel Wilson. Why did they remake Dirty Rotten Scoundrels? Because they needed to put women in the leads, because that's going to change the movie. No, it's going to make the movie dumb, because Rebel Wilson has become this joke of herself. When she came on the scene in Pitch Perfect and in Bridesmaids, she was funny. It was a new shtick, even though, in my opinion, very Melissa McCarthy-esque, but I'll get there in a second. Then Pitch Perfect 2 was like too much of her character, Fat Amy. And then everything she's been in since, except for Jojo Rabbit, which was a very small part for her, it has been so just over the top, like Melissa McCarthy movies. Bridesmaids was phenomenal with her. She was great. But since then, movies like Tammy, The Heat, Spy. I mean, I liked Spy, but not because of Melissa McCarthy. Identity Thief, Life of the Party. She does this pratfall like she thinks she's this generation's Chris Farley. She's not. And then if she's in a PG-13 movie, it's even harder for us to sit through it, because her in an R-rated movie, she thinks she's funny because she can say the F word a bunch and say S, and it's just not funny. She's not funny. Then she takes on a dramatic role in Can You Ever Forgive Me? And she was great in the movie. Not so good in The Kitchen, but in Can You Ever Forgive Me? She was great. Like, I wish Rebel Wilson would try to do something different. I haven't seen Cats, but I mean, I've heard she's awful in that, which I've heard pretty much everybody's awful in that. But The Hustle just, it was bad. Why make movies like this? Why not make an original? Come up with something original. Put Rebel Wilson in a drama and see if she can even act, or if she's a one-trick pony. I don't want to see any more of Rebel Wilson in comedies. I'm over it. Number 4, The Dead Don't Die. And this is a movie that's probably going to upset some people. It's on my Hot Trash of the Year list. This was one of the first times I've ever considered walking out of a theater. I gave the movie a half star, obviously. Jim Jarmusch, whose last movie before The Dead Don't Die was Patterson, starring Adam Driver, was a great movie. Jim Jarmusch has a very particular style. He's a quirky filmmaker, and I'm fine with that. I enjoyed Patterson. I think I gave it a 3.5 or a 4 out of 5. I really liked the movie. The Dead Don't Die was a movie where basically I feel like Jim Jarmusch called up all his friends and was like, I need you to do me a favor. I have this zombie movie, but it's going to shove a political message down everybody's throat. And they were like, yeah, we'll do it. Down with politics. And the movie just was not funny. There were jokes that were repeated over and over. And yeah, maybe they were funny the first couple times they were repeated. But after that, it became, this is what we're doing. Like, We're going to sit here through this. And this movie stars Bill Murray. It stars Adam Driver. It's there. It was not funny. It was hard for me to sit through. And I know Crazy Joe enjoyed it quite a bit. I know Dave, Cinema Sickness, enjoyed it. I personally, I was in a message board, a Facebook group, and there was a message post about this movie recently. And I thought I was kind of on my own about how much I disliked this movie. But a lot of people said, like, Jim Jarmusch, you know, should give us better than this. The movie was very preachy. It was very heavy-handed. And in my opinion, it shoved a message that did not need to be in the movie. And as a zombie comedy, I'd rather watch Shaun of the Dead a million times over than watch this again. I thought it was awful. And The Dead Don't Die is my number 4. Number 3, Replicas, starring Keanu Reeves, Alice Eve. I can't remember who else. I saw this movie a while ago, like early 2019. It was horrible. The effects were bad. It's basically about a guy whose family dies in a car accident, Keanu Reeves and his wife Alice Eve, and they have 2 children, I believe, and they all die, and he's working on something conveniently where, you know, it's to basically like an AI program, but to put AI into bodies. So he brings his family back to life, and of course there's something not quite right about it, and it was horrible. The effects were awful. The writing was terrible. The story just made no sense. One of the most laughable releases of 2019. I don't think it got a wide release, but I watched it. It was released in 2019. Replicas, number 3, Hot Trash of the Year. Number 2, and I am shocked that this is not my number 1 of the year, because this movie was garbage, and that is The Haunting of Sharon Tate, starring Hilary Duff. So after watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I had come across The Haunting of Sharon Tate on DVD at a local thrift store for $1. I grabbed it. I was like, yeah, I want to check it out. I want to see like what, not even knowing much about the movie, not knowing that apparently this is a repulsive movie to a lot of critics out there. This movie was torture to sit through. It tried to like flip what happened to Sharon Tate on its head. It did these weird throwbacks, and the acting was just, it felt like I was watching a movie on Sci-Fi. It was just laughable, and not very good. Hilary Duff as Sharon Tate was a joke. This movie was awful, garbage. I sold the DVD right away. I don't even think I had it to do for my review that month, because I was like, this needs to leave my collection. This isn't even worth the $1 I paid for it. If it comes to do a Dollar Tree, guys, do not buy it unless you need a good laugh and want to watch a terrible movie. The Haunting of Sharon Tate is number 2 on my Hot Trash of the Year. And then number 1, the worst thing I watched all year, a movie that definitely should not have been made, a straight-to-DVD movie. So to be fair, it didn't get a theatrical release. Was Benchwarmers 2, Breaking Balls. That's right, Benchwarmers 2, Breaking Balls. And why is it called that? Because Chris Klein is a minor league baseball player getting ready for his big shot at the pros, and he gets beamed by the pitcher in his testicles. Yes, that is why it's called Breaking Balls. He goes on to coach a company's softball team by his boss, John Lovitz, who hires him. It does not feature any of the original Benchwarmers. So John Heater, who I'm sure is hanging out, working at Sbarro's, David Spade, who I hope was like, I'm not doing that, and Rob Schneider, who's doing whatever Rob Schneider is doing, all said, no, I'm good. I don't think I need to be in Benchwarmers 2. But John Lovitz was like, I could use a paycheck. And Chris Klein's like, I haven't been in anything good since American Pie movies. So they did a movie where Chris Klein gets hit by a pitch and then coaches a softball team. That's all I'm going to say about it. It's on Netflix if you guys want to watch it. You guys will notice I watched The Fanatic this year, and it didn't make my worst of the year or my honorable mentions. Why? Because I was thoroughly entertained. It was not a good movie. I gave it a 1.5, but it was entertaining because it was ridiculous. This was ridiculous. That's all I got. I'm not saying any more. Chris Klein. Why? So that's it, guys. That is the worst of the year. Hot Trash of the Year by Rick. My opinion. So don't get all uppity. Oh, well, scary stories are telling. This is my opinion. You guys will complain about my top of the year. I guarantee it. This is my opinion. I'm just spitting out what I thought of this stuff and spitting out of my mouth as I tell you guys. So thank you for watching. Be sure, if you don't already, hit the subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up button if you liked it. Hit the thumbs down button if you didn't like it. But I appreciate you guys watching anyway. Be sure to hit the bell notification. That was mumbly. Hit the notification bell, the bell notification, whatever you guys want to call it, so you guys know when I drop more videos. Also, description box down below where you can find links to my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, eBay, Blu-ray.com, Letterboxd, where I rate and review all the movies I watch, my eBay page, my Amazon wish list, my email address, all that can be found down below. As always, guys, Blu-ray Snob, until next time, who's down to movie?